folks. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone?
Doing great.
Sorry, that was a wee bit of a slow start for me. I didn't even realise the timer had gone. Sometimes you've got to nudge me. I think it's age getting. Hi, Annette. How you doing?
Well, Annette.
So tonight, guys, I thought we would do modern day serial killers, because everybody's forever talking about the past serial killers. So I thought tonight the show would bring something different, and we would bring from the two. I can hear myself. I don't like hearing myself. Anything from 2000 onward. Nicky Canoe was early. Nicky Canoe peed that bed. Eric, don't you be kidding.
I got here 5 minutes early, man. Give me a break.
So while I'm sharing out, guys, how's your week been? How's everybody been? How's the world with everyone?
Non-stop.
It's been non-stop over here, but what's even stranger for today, and I'm sure Eric's probably experiencing the same thing too, but it has been unusually warm here for February. It's like almost 60 degrees over here. It's been kind of cloudy, kind of a little bit sunny too. It was raining a little bit. To me, it was like when the sun was out, I was like, God sakes, this is only February. Yet it looks like it was already it looked like it was April. But when the sun was hiding, when it was cloudy, there were all these leaves blowing. It almost felt like a late September, October day. It's like the seasons were just like coming at us all at once, like spring, winter, and fall at the same time. It's crazy.
That sounds like the UK all the time.
Oh god, yeah. That's like Scotland all the time. 4 seasons in one day. Hey, Robert.
Yeah, I mean that's like we're catching up to you. We're having that same issue too. So we're experiencing we're experiencing what you guys experience almost every day.
Do you know what? I'm sitting here. Put my camera on because I was sitting here waving. I'm sitting waving like the thing when there's nobody to wave at, you know? You're just like, oh. I do apologise, I look a bit rough tonight, folks. Hey, Holly. So yeah, 2000. Hey, Kelly, how you doing? 2000 killers. I mean, compared to back in the day, you know, there's so much more that people are getting done with than compared to back then when you didn't have really DNA, you didn't have all the technology. And when you look at today's climate of obviously a lot of people who, like cold cases back in the day, that are now getting cracked, it's quite astronomical. I think the first one that really comes to my head when we're talking about obviously the 2000s serial killers, I would have to go with the man that was just executed the other day. And I don't know if you guys seen the link, and it took him 22 minutes to die.
Really?
Wasn't that the guy that they tried to give the lethal injection to, and
they went horribly wrong.
So they had to gas him instead.
It's really, really horrible. Really horrible. But you've got the Phoenix serial shooter in the summer of 2016. The police in Phoenix, Arizona, began searching for a murderer. They dubbed the serial street shooter. From March to July, the assailant managed to kill 7 people and wound 2 others. And the ranging, it was from early teens to late 60s. It was every time with a semi-auto handgun. The shooter always attacked at night.
Look, sorry to
Um,
interrupt. Look who just showed up.
Oh, hello. Hi. I can actually see.
I thought you weren't
Um,
going to be there.
I know. Tell me about it. So yeah. So August 2016, the
That's fine.
FBI
That was pretty funny.
sent profilers to Phoenix to assist in the manhunt for the assailant. Though all the killings happened like round the low income neighbourhood Maryville, none of the victims were connected to each other or the suspect. So, and they announced that they would offer 30,000 reward to anyone with any information. So the person's still on the run just now. But yeah, I can't. Robert's saying I can't understand why they have phone death row waiting so long just to kill them straight away. I suppose in another sense, it's like a life sentence, really. Because as Nick said before, with the death penalty, you could be waiting a month, you could be waiting a year, you could be waiting 20 years. Just depends. With the death penalty.
Well, and think about it too, like I said, even those that are in prison are on death row for 30, 40 years, there comes to a point where it doesn't even matter whether they execute them immediately or not, because they're going to die in prison anyway. So it's just, like I've said before, life imprisonment in a way without parole. It's basically a death penalty in itself. It's just a slower means of death, if you will.
Obviously,
I didn't know we were talking about this topic, or I would have researched it.
Oh, really?
Well, I did put it in the group chat that I was talking about this, and I explained. I said, obviously, because it's like your subject didn't really have like a lot to it, so I wanted to make it modern era, so it covered everything. So don't worry about it. It's no sweat. Okay. So if you want to talk about the one in Australia, carry on.
Whoa, what happened? She must have accidentally pressed something.
Oh well.
Hopefully she'll come back. All right. Anyways, you were saying, Lois, though?
But yeah, I mean, I really feel sorry for the families. I really do feel sorry for the families, because that's no helping them either. Because obviously they've still got the life sentence regardless, because they've lost their family. But it's even more of a life sentence when obviously they've got to wait for that person to be to have the death penalty. So I think if it comes to a certain point in so many years, I think you should just give it to them instead of drawing it out. Because really, can you give me 2 wee ticks, guys? I'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I totally get what Lois is saying, though. I mean, just the fact that, with a lot of these modern day serial killers, with the amount of stuff that we have, it's certainly different than what it was like, 50 or so years ago.
Yeah, well, I think we've got technology to thank for that, haven't we? With obviously the discovery of DNA and the researching into forensic science. I think that has enabled us to sort of have more pinpoint accuracy on who we can suspect and who can finally be tried for the murders. And with the point about serial killers being kept in prison for so long, I mean, yeah, it's still a death sentence because they've still got to spend time behind bars. But I think the reason why, or reason being behind them spending so long in jail first is in case of an appeal, which would be the first thing. So they have the right to an appeal straight away, and that process can take a while. But then they've got to have a bit of leeway and a bit of time just in case there's evidence that comes up. And I'm not too sure about the American system, but with our system, I think there's so many years that would have to be put on hold for the amount of evidence to be collected. And if new evidence turns up, it has to be within this time frame. And obviously, we don't have a death sentence. So if they give out a life sentence, the maximum they can say is life means life without chance of parole.
So we just lost Lois there, but so, she said she was going to be back.
It doesn't really make much sense when you've got them sitting in jail for 30 or 40 years and then eventually give them the death sentence. It needs to be a limit and say if you've been given the death sentence, if you're unsuccessful on your appeal, and then that's it.
Right, so exactly.
You say if the appeal process is going to take, for a year maximum, then after that year, if you haven't lodged an appeal or you've had an appeal and it hasn't worked, then that's it. The green light for you. And not make them wait 30 or 40 years and then make a bodge up of it. That poor guy sat there. They tried, I think something like 22 times, wasn't it?
At least.
They were using him as a pincushion and still didn't get nowhere. So they took him out of that place only to take him back to be gassed.
It's just crazy when it comes to something like that, especially if like the execution does not go organized, if you will, that something like that occurs. It's just crazy to think about.
I mean, you hear of people all the time, don't you, trying to dodge your way around the death penalty.
And over here in the United States, I mean, although we don't have it here in Illinois, I mean, for those that are on death row, only a small percentage of those who are on death row are able to get the death penalty overturned for, in this case, a life imprisonment. And, their last option to get it appealed is usually through the Supreme Court. So as a result of that, they tried their absolute best, but a lot of times, like I said, they only just a few of them ever get it changed for life imprisonment instead.
Yeah.
Of course, even those that are on trial, that haven't been sentenced yet, even if they were willing to cooperate or, try to give out more evidence or confess to more stuff, for a lighter sentence, like let's say even life imprisonment, even then, they would still have to remind them that there's no guarantee that, depending on where they committed the crime, if it was a death penalty state, there's no guarantee that they would be able to avoid the death penalty.
Yeah.
Might delay it, it might even delay it. But that doesn't mean they're going to be off the hook from it.
Yeah. They try to prolong the carrying out of the sentence by trying to get them buried under bureaucracy and paperwork.
Right. Well, there's also another fact. I don't know how this works. I don't remember exactly what the full meaning. I mean, I don't know how the whole process is, but they said too, I remember seeing something on, I think it must have been a YouTube video or something where, even for the death penalty to be enacted, for certain inmates that have committed a very violent crime, it's not always just the judge, a judge's decision. It's also, for over here, sometimes there's also a lot of money that's involved to get an execution going. And sometimes, I guess you can say if a community does not have enough money to really support that to get an execution running, then the only other option would be life imprisonment without parole.
But then financially, that would cost them more.
It probably would. I'm not sure. See, even though I know a few things about it, this is one of the things I don't know fully about. So I think it also varies and depends. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the way they would have to look at it is if it would cost them, say, I don't know, say $45,000 to carry out the sentence of the death penalty, and yet this guy is only 24, and he's still got a good 60 years ahead of him. And yet when they look at the statistics on how much it would cost them to keep him in jail for another 60 odd years, that would far exceed what it would cost them to carry out the death penalty.
Yeah.
So financially, it's better to carry out the sentence rather than to keep him behind bars for the rest of his life, because he could outlive most of the inmates quite easily.
Right. Well, there's a guy who lives down, I believe, I think he's in the Louisiana State Penitentiary, and he has been there like almost his entire life at LSP. And this guy literally, I mean, he wasn't necessarily a serial killer, but he did commit a murder. At that time, he was only like 17 years old when he committed it. That was back in 1957, I believe. And from 1957 to now, he's been in LSP this entire time. And even though it was, considered truly life in prison without parole for him, he there was actually a news crew that went in. They even asked him still, saying, what do you think you'll do when you get out? And he said he didn't have a clue. Let's face it, we're talking basically about the what was his name? Oh my God, it's like I could think about it right now, but I can't think of his name. But this is obviously the real inmate from Shawshank Redemption who spent his entire Brooks. This is like the real Brooks here. So you're talking about someone who's been incarcerated since the 50s. Now it's the 2020s. Very much like Brooks in that movie. If he ever does get out, he's going to know that everything is completely different than what he remembered before he was incarcerated.
Yeah. It just seems, in a sense, it just seems a bit farcical that they would send someone to the death penalty and just leave them in jail for like 40 years before they finally carry it out. It's almost like, they're inundated with an amount of people on death penalty and you've got to wait your turn.
This guy, 1957, he's been in there 65 plus years. So he's got to be one of the longest serving inmates. I don't know if he was ever sentenced to death to begin with, but even down in Louisiana, which is also a death penalty state, even if they sent him on life imprisonment, down there too, life means life.
Yeah, I mean, we had the death penalty here only up until 1995. A lot of people think the death penalty was actually stopped a lot earlier than that. But for military personnel, the death penalty still existed for treason during time of war.
Right.
And I remember when I joined the Royal Air Force, we were told that the death penalty still does exist in the UK, but it's only for military personnel for treason during war.
That's similar.
We had to actively be at war with somebody else first, then commit treason to be given the death sentence. And then that was removed I think it was removed in 95. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you also look at some of the modern day serial killers too, I mean, even those that have been caught and have got different sentences, I mean, I think for some of these guys that end up getting caught, and let's say if they ended up getting the death penalty, I mean, like I said, it's like a slow death penalty in itself. That also means that, of course, even in the death penalty, they would not be getting parole, and that would probably still be more satisfying for families of the victims because they can't get out or anything like that. And I actually have a very good example because one of them I was actually just looking up just last night. I didn't really get a lot of research into it, but I just kind of scrolled through and just kind of looked at just a few things. It was a guy named Michael Madison. He is an American convicted serial killer and sex offender. He was from East Cleveland, Ohio. And he had committed the murders of at least 3 women over a 9-month period in 2012 and 13. He was eventually arrested in 2013 and was sentenced to death in 2016. So he's currently on death. So that was back in 2016. As of right now, he's still on death he's still on death row in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why some states. It's strange, isn't it? Because some states have been given the right to either have it or not have it.
Right, right.
And I suppose it depends. I mean, do you think it's anything to do with what they call it, the Bible Belt? You know,
Yeah,
all
the
these,
Bible Belt. Yep.
Obviously, in the Bible it says an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Right.
So if you go by the Bible, that means life for a life.
That's pretty much what it's kind of all about, and that's why the Bible Belt is primarily, obviously focused in the southern United States, for that matter, and a good majority of those states down in the south are mainly death penalty states. So it does kind of live up to its meaning. Hey, Irene, good to see you here.
Evening, Irene. Yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? It's. I mean, I noticed that with a lot of the with going to court now, you don't have to swear on the Bible anymore.
Right.
Over here. Obviously, because of having a multi-faith society, you couldn't have a Buddhist swearing on the Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't work, because then there's no honesty involved there, because you haven't sworn on your book. So that's
Lois,
it.
Here, Lois.
So they
here
have
she is.
they have the different religious
Hey guys,
phrases
sorry about
for
that.
you to swear on.
Right.
That's okay.
Everything okay?
Yep, all good, all good. What have I missed? Oh, hi Irene, hi Sarah Louise, hi Lynn, hi everyone. Rosie's coming on in a second. It was just a wee bit miscommunication.
Okay, I was getting a little concerned about that.
No, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, there's so many though modern serial killers.
Oh,
Some of
real
them
quick,
are actually quite
Pickle
funny.
Tom's here.
Ah, hello Tom. How are you, dude? Hey Ria, thank you. My friend lives down in that part of America. I have to
And you know
help her.
what? I'd like to point out something since Irene's here, because she said this a few times on the show. I think she's actually said this a few times on this show, as well as a few others. So Lois, I mean, before you came back on, we were actually talking about some, these modern day serial killers, as well as the death penalty, which I know, of course, is something we've talked about before. And I'll speak for Irene in this part, which is obviously, I know in a country like Japan, they have it there, and they usually will impose it if you don't show any type of remorse or regret or anything. So it's very much, to me, it's more like almost like a scare tactic, but it's also in a way of showing, in this case, like a country like Japan, that they mean business when someone commits a very serious crime, especially if it's involving a serial killer.
I mean, one of the things that I read recently, and it makes me really, really think that the UK needs their laws a kick up the arse, is the one recently that I seen where someone punched someone and obviously killed the person. And not just killed the person, they humiliated the person before obviously they killed them, and they got 12 months. And I just think for manslaughter, whilst if that was over in America, geez, they'd be looking at life without parole. And I suppose that's why I really, really love the American laws, is because such things like murder is taken seriously over here, over there. Whilst over here, it's only special occasions. When you look at the recent one, when we talk about serial killers, when you look at the recent one of the nurse who got convicted down in whereabouts, when was it? I'm sure.
Sorry?
The Lucy, the Lucy Letby one. She killed the babies in the hospital.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
recently.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. Yep.
And she's one of the ones, again, I think she's the second or the third woman maybe to get a life term. a whole life term, and she's trying to appeal against it, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just like, oh, but yeah, I mean, it's your birthday today, isn't it, Tom? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Pickle Tom. Happy birthday to you.
Tom, did you get that? Did you get that pickle cake yet? I showed him a funny picture one time of a cake that was actually in the shape of a pickle, and I thought,
oh,
that's got Tom's name all over it. Yeah, his birthday was yesterday.
I don't know why I started singing it today then. But yeah, I mean, it's like special cases like that. And the last case that obviously they done with full life term was Wayne Custins, the police officer, and the Met who raped and kidnapped Sarah Everett. So it's cases like that where they can show total, the good enough sentence. But then there's other cases. Was it something I said? Seriously?
He just froze and disappeared.
Yeah, so yeah, up here he comes. I told you we shouldn't have went live tonight. We should record it because our StreamYards were fine backstage, and now everybody. It was the Countess of Chester Hospital. Lucy Letby worked it. She worked in the intensive care unit. So yeah, it does show you that the UK does have good laws in some way. Now,
Sorry, guys.
I think next week we're going to record it because as soon as we come on live, StreamYard just goes shh.
It was working just fine for the first half hour. Now all of a sudden it's going off like that. Must have been because of Tom. Must have been the pickles.
Nick, you forgot to put another quarter in the meter, didn't you? That's what it was.
He did.
Wait,
He did.
what? It's frozen.
Wait. He's gone again.
Oh my god, this is.
Come back.
So Irene says no, just a religious cult, but the leader was hung and nothing since.
Oh, back.
Irene says, but the cases against capital crimes are studied from top to bottom to make sure that there are no questions about the crime. Well, this is true. And do you know what? Different countries, different laws, and different ways of dealing with, I suppose. I mean, if you look at places like, obviously, like Turkey and like Asian countries as well, they're very, very strict. I mean, my friend used to tell me about Singapore and how strict that they can be. Hey, Siobhan, welcome to the show for the first time.
Guys, I'll be back. I'm going to switch computers because this is going to start freezing up again. So I'll be right back. I couldn't hear anything of what you said. You were telling me, Wayne. So I'll be back.
Seriously, I think our computer, we're on the blink tonight, or it's this StreamYard. Absolutely driving me nuts. But yeah, so it's one of the ones that StreamYard is just failing us tonight. But our laws are from British laws. That's not always a good thing, Irene. Not always a good thing.
No, not necessarily.
Do you guys deal with the paranormal? Yes, we do.
I mean, obviously, laws are set in place by the governing body of that country. And like I was saying to Nick while you were off, we had the death penalty up until 1995. But that was only for military personnel for committing treason during wartime. And then it was abolished. So up until 1995, if you were in the military and you committed treason, you expected to get the death penalty. But
Oh, God,
basic civilian population wouldn't have got the death penalty. So it depends on different countries. I mean, you look at some of the countries that are under Sharia law. If you're caught stealing, you lose your hands.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, God,
So,
yeah.
but just the threat of that, you know, with me, if I looked at it and gone, well, if I get caught stealing, I'll lose my hands. I ain't
Yeah,
gonna be stealing.
no.
You know,
Well,
and so although it sounds barbaric and sort of a bit of rough justice, it sort of reduces the risk of crime. And I think it's like that with a lot of things.
yeah.
I mean, I noticed it when I visited my sister in Greece. When they show an accident, they actually show everything. They don't put screens up or anything like that, or, you know, put a screen in front of the damaged car or the body. They actually show you all of that, because what that does is that deters other people from driving like idiots or drink driving.
Well, maybe that should be a thing. I mean, can you remember when, I don't know if it's so much obviously in the States, if you guys over in the States or any parts of the world, but I can remember when we had like such things, it wouldn't be shown during the day, but it would usually be after children were in bed, about 9, 10 o'clock, where you used to have the adverts of the drink driving.
Yeah, after the walk
advert.
shed.
And they used to scare the shit out of me, like seriously, because it would actually show you what would happen. And they stopped doing them. Well, I don't actually watch council telly anymore, if I'm really honest. I don't have council telly. I only really watch Prime and YouTube and things like that. So I don't know, Wayne, if you watch council telly,
I mean,
if they
they
still
do.
have advert things.
They do show adverts about drink driving, but what they tend to do is they tend to skim around the truth of what happens in these situations. They just tend to say, you know, oh well, if you're over the limit, this could happen, blah blah blah. And this person got drunk after a night out on the town, got in his car, killed 4 people. And you see him driving the car, and you just see him driving erratically, and you might hear the sound of a crash, and then you might see a bit of the car damaged, and that's it. But I noticed with Greek newsreels and the newscasts that they don't hold back. They show you the blood on the road. They show you part of the body. They show you the damage, full extent of the damage to the car. They'll leave the damaged car there on the side of the road for a week to let you know that this happened, and it makes people more aware of how they're driving. And some of the places in Greece, they are not they're not sort of the best of roads, and they're quite twisty and turny and windy and go up mountainsides. And yet when you look at the roads, you think to yourself, blimey, I don't feel safe on this road. But the level of driving over there is completely different. They don't drive like idiots. I mean, yeah, okay, they might go a bit fast, and in places like Malta, they say they tend to drive in the shade.
We've kicked Nicker. We've kicked Nicker. Yay!
So you know, I think it's down to the news. I think that the news will be very careful of what they show, because they don't want to scare people. But the problem then is the youngsters don't get the full message of what could happen. And I think to make it age appropriate, especially in the modern day now, when you've got kids playing the likes of Call of Duty and Hell Let Loose on computers, where you actually see the graphic detail, showing things like that on the news after maybe 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night wouldn't be so bad, and it would teach them the truth about what would happen. And that would be the same with you know, with going to court over a murder.
Kate.
Wayne says, Irene says, we'll let you drive here in Tokyo.
I
Um,
think they
Katie,
drive on the same side of the road as us in Japan, don't they?
yeah.
I think that
But
Or is it different over here? We drive on the right. I know you guys drive on the left side. We drive on the right side over here.
oh,
no,
do you know
no.
how?
You drive on the right side. We drive on the right side.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
See,
do
we're
you know
on
the
the
best?
right hands. We actually, because although you drive on the right side of the road, you're on the left side of your car.
Yeah, that's right.
We drive on the right side of the road and drive on the right side of our car. I don't like driving on the wrong side of the road. It's weird.
Well,
Do you know?
I've only ever gone to one other country that's done that. I think it was somewhere. I think it might actually be somewhere in Mexico, and that part of Mexico. I think they did the same thing over there. So driving on the right side was definitely different. But Irene makes a good point, saying our roads are more narrow, like in England. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the YouTube videos? I know this is going to be a bit off topic, but this is what ends up happening in these shows. But have you seen some of the roads like that they have to drive like in India and where they don't know how like everywhere else, like they have like barriers and things like that, but they don't actually have a higher edge. They don't actually have barriers, and like they've got to drive buses in the most shortest of roads, and oh my god, that would give me the
Well, not only
Lois.
that, even when I was down in Mexico one time, I mean, I don't know if like how we have in most countries, they have stop signs and red lights, to direct when you need to go. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been down to a country like Mexico. Now, I'm not saying anything bad. I just telling you a fact. But the red lights and stoplights they have, they're down there. It's suggestion, not a requirement or an enforcement. So, you cross through those lights and you're not careful what you're seeing, you're most likely going to get into an accident.
We had
Oh,
when I first I went to
oh,
Corfu
here's
once,
Rosie.
and
Hey, Rosie, pose.
my sister's other half took me back to the airport, and it was a night flight. So he closed his bar in the evening, and we were driving down to Corfu town, and I see the traffic lights, and they were red, and there was a police car sitting on the side of the road, and Spiros didn't bother slowing down. He was still continuing at the same speed, and I'm like, the lights are red, and you're not slowing down. Why aren't you slowing down? And I felt like I was your driving instructor. I'm sitting there trying to put my foot on the pedal for him, and he went straight through it. So I'm looking in the wing mirrors and turning around, and I'm looking for this police car to come out after us, and he didn't bother. And I went, Spiros, that police car's just still sitting there. Why isn't he chasing after us? And he turned around and said, no, they don't bother. He said, if the road's clear, that's fine.
Wow.
I was
Jesus
expecting us to get arrested.
Christ. Oh, Rosie, what was that Australian one that you were going on about? The Australian serial killer. What's happening in Australia right now?
I don't know. And now I was thinking maybe I'll pick a different topic that's bigger since I got more information, I guess.
But
I just did watch several videos, and it had popped up the day before we had talked about it. It had popped up in current
we
news or
got
whatever. I guess because they revisited the case. Because it's not a cold case, but it's a past case. It happened 25 years ago, actually, is when it happened.
Was that the Snowden murders?
Yes, yeah. It's
I read up about it as well. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of Jeffrey Dahmer. That's why I was interested in it. Or like, the vats or like the barrels of body parts or whatever. It was pretty gruesome actually when I started to research about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot like the Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, like almost like the Australian counterpart of him almost.
Yeah.
oh god, yeah. God,
But it was
yeah.
also like a cult too at the same time, like because it was a group of people and they were like a family dynamic, and they were all in on it. Like there was 4 men that actually did all the murders, but one of the men had this man and his wife to move in with them, and then he kind of took the wife as his own whatever person, and then the man became one of their kind of like workers or whatever, and then her sons also like were involved in it, and I was like, well, it's like a cult or something. It kind of reminded me of
Yeah,
Manson at the same time too.
like
Oh
servants in a
god.
way.
I think
Yeah,
there was only like one of the victims that were killed in Snowton itself, which was approximately 140 kilometers, 87 miles north of Adelaide. Which is quite ironic. Neither the 12 victims nor the 3 perpetrators were actually from the town itself, which was I find quite unusual.
Hmm.
Here, police are close
yeah.
in the crime.
See, you know,
Oh wow.
you know who I also wonder who might know about? I didn't even think about this actually, Rosie. I'm surprised I actually didn't talk about it with her on
Nikki.
here. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know who might also know about this too is Nikki. I wonder if she has, but I didn't think about her earlier today. I'm not sure what time it is currently out in Australia right now. So, but that's something.
I did think about her. I was like thinking about messaging her. I should have before, like yesterday or something, and asked her if she knew anything about it, or if she because she's old enough to have actually experienced the news about it. You know what I'm saying?
She's talked about some of the serial killers. In fact, like when I've had just one-on-one conversations with her, so always definitely suggestion we get to like allow. I mean, obviously, maybe not today, but for future resolutions, like we should also have Nikki on to talk about it. You know, because Rosie, you did your research. I would definitely like to see what Nikki knows about it too.
Yeah.
Definitely, it would definitely have good, like, even grab Irene one night. I'm sure there's a lot that's happened in Japan in such
Yeah, Irene
places.
too. Irene could be another.
Yeah.
We might as well have a multicultural night.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. That's a
Well,
cool
that's
idea.
kind of like where Don Show Fear Fans is going. I mean, you know, we had
Oh, I didn't say
well,
sure.
3 different countries, and I love the fact that we're really see Irene has agreed. So I just love how we're really starting to like connect. You know, not just country and state wise, but even continent wise, and that's what's so amazing about this.
That's always a good thing. Oh, do you know what, Irene? I would love that just now, the old moonshine.
Are you gonna
That
give
was-
me some? Because I want it.
That was fruit juice here.
Fruit juice.
What do you say?
Moonshine? Oh, I
We,
saw it
we
was.
used to have a fruit drink here called moonshine.
Oh, yum.
Oh, wow.
I'll have the fruit juice. You all can have the moonshine. I'll have the fruit juice.
Or
Is it fruity?
we'll have the real
fruity moonshine?
or better
No,
yet, we'll have
just fruit juice.
better yet, we'll have the real moonshine. You have the juice moonshine. So we got moonshine and you got moonshine.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the moonshine.
Nick, I can't help but think you're going by the I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream.
I ain't seen that one.
Put the ice cream in the moonshine and make it float. I don't know if that'd be good or not. But yeah, I've seen where they, like in the story where they had like to dismember the bodies to get them to fit into the barrels, and I actually saw pictures and I was like, oh my gosh, those are gross. But and they had tortured the people with shocking devices and made fake recordings and stuff of their voices and sent them to their families so they think they were alive. Still.
Yeah, they were a bit sadistic, weren't they?
Oh, very.
Yeah.
I mean, others were killed due to dislike obese people, drug users, homosexuals, and it was just, I think it was any reason to kill really. And there was a forensic psychiatrist who was at Broadmoor Hospital believed that Bunton's behaviour suggested that he lacked emotion. He lacked emotion and the capacity to empathise with his victims. It showed that he was actually a psychopathic killer who enjoyed controlling his victims. All right,
I'll be right back. I'm just going to mute the microphone. You keep talking.
No problem. The victims were forced to call him God, Master, Chief Inspector, Lord Sir. It said that during the murders, he had a fashion a rock spider wall on the wall of a spare room in his house. Sorry, that came out Scottish there. I do apologise. I feel sometimes I forget where I'm talking and I end up breaking out in Scottish. It's so funny. I do apologise for that one. Just in case anyone was like, what the hell did she just say? So yeah, so the chart was created using paper notes and wool, and it was interconnected. It was like basically a web, names of people, who Bunton suspected to be paedophiles or homosexuals. It's basically like pulling. The only way to describe it, from my understanding of it, Bunton was he would select a name if it was like if he was selecting a name from a hat, but instead of a hat, it's from a wall, and then he would just use it that way. But yeah, he seemed like really a sadistic guy.
Yeah.
That's okay. I love the Scottish.
It's almost like the best way I could describe it is that it's almost like as if this individual was choosing those who were basically the lowlights of society, those that didn't do so well, that had committed really bad crimes, like or people that were just looked down upon, you know, like the rejects of society, if you will. That's probably why he was going after those people, because they think if you find someone who's, you know, and I hate to even say it's like people who are, you know, either homosexual or different, or people who are drug users or committed a crimes on a child. They think, well, those people did these terrible things. Nobody's ever going to find these people or even care that they're gone. Well, reality is it doesn't even really matter, unfortunately, because regardless of whoever that person is, the reality is if you kill somebody like that deliberately, that's still considered murder.
And it's still a human life, no matter what kind of life that you see it is. Yeah.
I mean, in this particular case, that a lot of them were, most of the victims were friends or acquaintances of at least one of the members of that group of four.
Yeah.
Right.
And some were even family members, occasionally sharing homes with the murderers. So they'd obviously, you know, they say that a lot of people that get murdered knew their murderer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in that particular case, every victim knew their killer.
Yeah, I mean, it's typical. It's typical for a lot of serial killers out there that normally, I mean, we've talked about a number of them. I mean, there are a lot of serial killers that usually will go out and normally target those that really they have little to no connection to whatsoever. But for a serial killer to target those that they actually know is not something you hear very commonly with a lot of these type of individuals. Like, in fact, the only time I've really heard of serial killers going after people that they already know, and it's, I don't like to say it's understandable, but I could see the reasons behind it, is if these were not only people they knew, but were people that had, you know, if they were kids, if they were abused by them, like a family member or something like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, killing those that treated you very nicely 100% is a completely different story.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're saying
though.
about Bunton was that, you know, he was, well, it's saying when he was 8 years old, Bunton was beaten and sexually assaulted by a friend's older brother. And that's where his hatred for paedophiles and homosexuals. But the justification, I suppose, paedophiles, but homosexuals, no, definitely no. I don't like that, but because at the end of the day, you know, paedophiles target, and that shouldn't be then taken out on the same sex.
Yeah, because it's, you know, there's a completely different, you know, basis, I guess, when it comes to pedophiles and homosexuals. Now, I mean, still, I mean, we obviously look down upon those with, you know, those who are pedophiles in this case, but of course it's still not right to actually kill them, because again, like I said, it's still considered murder in a way. And believe it or not, I mean, there are some of those people who have committed those disgusting crimes. Some of them do learn how to rehabilitate and realize their behavior is inappropriate and that they shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. So regardless of whoever they are, it's still murder in the end, because that's, just because someone committed something like that means that you don't get to take the law into your own hands in that way. So but I'm not trying to feel sympathetic here, but you
No. I totally get what you're saying, Nick. At the end of the day, I mean, when you look at, obviously, there's a gentleman in the UK who they'll never ever let out of solitary confinement. He can't be among other prisoners because he's notorious. And I suppose in some ways people would celebrate and want to shake his hand for killing paedophiles.
Yeah.
But if he gets wind that obviously if people are paedophiles, he will go out his way to kill them. And that's why they've got him down in solitary confinement. And he can't. I mean, people are trying to fight for the rights of, his human rights. But then there comes to a point where you've got to say, what else can you really do with a man who? Sorry,
Right.
love.
Well, I mean, this was a point I raised with Nick earlier on, is that when you look at it, and especially in like the Bible Belt area in the States,
Yeah.
where the death penalty is still predominant, it's eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, which also means life for a life. So you will get a lot of places that will say, you took a life, you have to compensate for that. And so they would bring the death penalty in play. But it is a good and valid point that they have taken somebody's life away. And in some cases, in particular this case, there was 12 murders. They took the lives of those people. What can you do with them? So, do you sentence to life, or do you give them the death penalty?
Now, I'm not sure, Rosie, since you said you did the research on it. See, Nick, of course, Nick, you would answer this question better than myself. But do they still have the death penalty in Australia, or did they show anything like that when you were doing the research on it? Or
I didn't see anything about the death penalty.
okay,
Go ahead. Was she saying something?
I think Australian law is very similar to the UK's.
Okay.
Is it like what do you mean? Like they get life in prison instead? Or
Yeah,
they
like
would get life imprisonment. We abolished the death sentence in 1995, and even up until then, I think it was from the 70s or 80s. I think it was. It was for only military personnel committing treason during a time of war.
So
it would have been very hard in the UK to be actually given the death penalty prior to 1995, unless you were in the military.
I mean, what it's saying is that basically sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences with a non-parole period of 26 years, and Hayden was sentenced to 25 years with non-parole period of 18 years. More than 200 suppressed orders prevented details of the case, obviously. In early 2011, a judge lifted the remaining orders in response to a request by the producers of the film Snowtown. Oh, there's an actual film, guys, if you want to go and check it out, called Snowtown.
Yeah. Keep it in the group.
Yeah, it's a 200. Shut up, Louise. 2011 Australian biographical crime drama. It's written by Sean Grant. I'm trying to see if there's any really names in there that we would really know as such. No, I don't think there really is. It's just really just obviously Australian actors. But it's funny that, isn't it, that when something such like that happens, suddenly there's films, there's TV series, it's not even long before it happened.
And also, I just looked it up. You know, like capital punishment in this case in Australia, they don't have it anymore. Theirs were
No.
more. They abolished theirs back in 2009. In fact, the last execution that they're saying that any part of Australia has ever had, it's been a very long time, was actually back in 1967 was their last execution.
Yeah. That's a long
Yeah,
time.
I mean they were very lucky because the legislation, like Nick says, was put through in 2009, and then it was finalised in March 2010. So,
That's correct.
and they were caught in May 1999. So
Yeah.
obviously once the court process had taken place, which was a year, that was still 2000. So the judge could have still given them all the
Yeah.
death sentence.
I
So
mean, I do think
in that sense, they were very lucky.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do think if you compared it to a lot of cases, though, where someone did get a death sentence, that they did do the crime that would be punishable by that. I do think that they would have, if they were in another state, maybe they're in the United States, they might have gotten the
Yeah.
death penalty.
Well, you know what?
Oh God,
So I'm going to be honest with you guys about something, and this is something I'm not going to say names, but believe it or not, this was actually one of the few times where I pretty much was supporting of the death penalty. Because I'm just going to say this: this happened to a former friend of mine. She wasn't a serial killer. Just want to be clear on things. It wouldn't be any. This is not anybody you guys would know because it was actually someone from my high school days. But I got word from another friend of mine that, you know, to put it in simple perspectives, because even I don't know all the details just yet, but this former friend of mine, I guess, was, I think, pregnant at one point, and to put it in a simple perspective, she decided she did not want to have this baby. It was already a few months, so obviously an abortion was not possible. But let's just say that apparently it was an abortion that went terribly wrong, and
oh
I don't know what the details are, but what I heard, though, even to this day, I am absolutely disgusted for what she did. And this was someone who used to be like literally one of my best friends. I mean, we never dated or anything like that, but we were literally best friends. And I actually, even years ago, I actually thought, because she was into the paranormal stuff too, and subjects like this, so I thought she'd make a great part of, you know, the paranormal and all this other stuff. I was actually leading her in that direction, but she started hanging out with the wrong crowd. She started getting into drugs and alcohol, and now she's reached the ultimate. And when I heard about this, I didn't say this to her, but I told my parents this, and this goes back to, you know, with us talking about the subject. At one point, she also used to live in Indiana, and unlike Illinois, where we don't have the death penalty, Indiana does. So I said to my parents, normally I'm against it, but this is one of those few exceptions. In other words, she better consider herself lucky that she actually committed this crime in Illinois. Because if she committed it in Indiana, if she was still in Indiana and committed it there, or if she had committed it in some of our other states, she probably would have most likely been facing the death penalty then. And like I said, even though I'm usually against it, personally, this is one of the few times I think she should.
Yeah.
I think we've all got that in us where we think that, damn, we wish we brought back the death penalty, or damn, the thing we. But then there is totally things out there that's happened that I've agreed that the death penalty should be involved in, and then there's other ones that makes me think that, well, what happens if we're putting people up to the death penalty? Well, not us ourselves, but talking about humanity in general. We're putting people up to the death penalty, or we're sending people down for life. And what happens if these people are innocent? I mean, how can you honestly live with yourself and say, I was part of that jury that convicted wrongfully that person? I mean, you just have to look at the one. Sorry, when you go in.
No, carry on. Give me a second.
I seen obviously the one in America recently, and I can't remember. I can just remember I can see the guy in my head even just now, and he was in jail for a long time, and he appealed and appealed and appealed, and it was finally, I don't know if it was last year or the year beforehand, but he was finally acquitted after spending so many years.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
And
Case. Yep,
he was
I know.
innocent.
I saw
and
that
the
on the
guy
news.
was nearly collapsing and everything his lawyer actually had. And I mean, he's a big bulky guy. I wouldn't like to be the lawyer trying to keep him up. But hey, Cliff, but it's cases like that where you've got to say to yourself, oh my God,
So he
we're
spent
sending
all
in
those years
innocent
innocently
people.
in
Well,
jail.
Well, and there's also times that, you know, it does become questionable. I mean, again, when it comes to that, the death penalty and also life in prison, because there are people that even if they live in a state or a country that has the death penalty, some people may still not agree that the death penalty may, you know, solve all the problems, because you hear some cases where some people are like, you know what, death penalty is too easy for that person. That's not enough. They need to actually live out and live the hell that they have to live in prison every day, knowing that they can never get out. So there's not everybody's always for it at the same time. Some people actually want them, not necessarily to live, but to live in the hell that they're going to have to live in for the rest of their lives in prison.
I mean,
Yeah.
Lois was saying about being wrongly accused. It reminded me of a series I watched a couple of weeks ago, and it was about John Demjanjuk. And
Thank
during
God
the
you're saying
war,
that name and not me.
yeah, during the war, he was actually an officer in a concentration camp, and the Israeli special unit that was created after the Nuremberg trials actually went out looking for all these German officers that had managed to escape Germany and get to South America. And they actually went to Argentina. They kidnapped him, took him away from his family, and hightailed it back to Israel, where he stood trial, and he was actually given the death sentence. So he was facing the death sentence. He was going to be hung because all the testimonies from eyewitnesses, from obviously the survivors, misidentified him as Ivan the Terrible of Treblinka. Only it wasn't him. And it wasn't until he started the appeal process that they had found documentation in Russia that stated that Ivan the Terrible had actually been executed elsewhere.
Wow.
And he was then he was then freed, and they all apologized. Well, the court did apologize for arresting him. He then went back home to America, and then he was extradited back to Germany, where he did stand trial.
Wow.
But he died before the sentence could be carried out. But it was because he was actually tried for something else rather than being Ivan the Terrible.
Right.
So he wouldn't have got the death for what he was. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was extradited back to Germany, and then he was sentenced for imprisonment, where he eventually died anyway. Because I think by the time they caught up with him and actually tried him in Germany, he was about 91 years old, and he was already frail.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have, at that age, I mean, they wouldn't have been able to even send him to prison, because I've seen stuff like that too. I mean, not only just, I've seen very similar cases like that also with not to go off topic, but you know, even with some of the previous Nazis, you know, who like remaining living ones that worked in Nazi Germany back in the late 30s and early 40s. And although they were still arrested and charged with what their crimes against humanity for what they did, I mean, they were too old at that point. They were frail. Yep. So nobody really in other words, nobody chose truly. I mean, they chose life in prison, but it wasn't really prison. Like nobody chose a prison or the death penalty. The juries, I thought, pretty much thought that they were all just too old. So they would have had to have gone to some kind of nursing home, I guess, or some hospital because they were nearing the end of their lives anyway. So it was like there was no point of imposing a severe sentence, because it would probably just be another few years before they would eventually die to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, look at Japan. You know, it was China or Japan, and it was one of the guys recently who died. And he made a deathbed confession that been on the run for the last 50 years. He was one of China's most wanted.
I wonder if Irene knows anything about that one.
I read that the other day.
I bet she
That
does.
was I think that's pretty. Well, really, what can you do to you when you're on your deathbed and I've been on the run for the last 50 years?
That is
But
true.
the
Irene.
problem when the taxpayers always suffer.
That's what we were talking about earlier, me and Wayne. We were talking about something like that. Now, Eric asks a good question. Now, I wonder how old the oldest prisoner is or was. And you know what? I did see that a few days ago. I don't know if it's the one in Louisiana, but I know. Okay, so yeah, here's what I was looking for. His name was Paul Guidel, I guess if I'm saying that correctly. He was the longest serving prison inmate in the U.S., whose sentence ended with his parole, a fact that earned him a place, believe it or not, in the Guinness World Records. Well, now they're saying he's the second longest serving inmate. I guess I don't know how that's the case. He survived. He was convicted of second-degree murder in 1911 at only age 17. He served 68 years, 296 days in various New York State prisons, and until he was finally released on May 7th, 1980, at the age of 86.
Dang.
And as far as his release, it doesn't say too much about what his life was like after he was released. Having served the longest prison sentence in U.S. history, no publicity, please, Guidel said with a smile to reporters as he was leaving the facility. He is believed to have lived out the remainder of his days in a Beacon, New York nursing home before dying in May of 1987 at the age of 93. So he only got to really experience what the modern world was like for 7 years after he was released.
Can you imagine that 7 years though, being in prison all those years? It probably wasn't very pleasant 7 years.
It probably was. The thing about China is that they kill prisoners and they harvest the organs and sell them on the black market. So yeah, talk about kangaroo.
My God!
I never even knew that. Yikes!
Dude,
I just learned that.
do you know
last year.
There's a judge in America that I totally love, right? And I don't know what state he's in. I'll need to find out what state he's in. And I want to give him a big, massive shout out because I think this guy's fucking brilliant. His name is Judge Simpson.
Judge Simpson.
Honorary, Cyril Simpson. He's one of I'll need to look him up. But he's honestly one of the most best judges I've ever seen in America.
What's his full name?
I'm just going to look him up now.
Cedric Simpson, is that his name?
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, that guy is awesome.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. He's in Michigan.
Michigan. Oh my God, this man, honestly, as a judge, and I only know this judge because I watch different YouTubers, and there's one in Detroit called Team Skeptic, and he used to cover flat earth mainly, but then he started doing other topics like the old age of sovereign citizens. Oh, that would be a topic to cover one night, sovereign citizens. I don't get it. I'm going to be really honest. I don't get it, right? It's one of the subjects that it baffles me. But anyway, this Judge Simpson, I've never seen a man that's so patient, but just brings them straight down to earth in about 3 seconds. But he's really, really good, and I think he's really one of the good judges that I have seen in America. Is Judge Simpson. He is quite comical as well. He's fair with you if you're fair with him, but if you're going to go in there and start being an idiot, then that's when he becomes an idiot back.
what Irene means here, and everyone knows that here in Japan, she's talking about the executions in China and the harvesting of organs. See, I wouldn't be surprised, but that's something I never even knew about.
I've posted news from
Only did someone
independent.
show me the YouTube videos and the research of it last year, and I was just baffled. I couldn't believe that.
I mean,
Oh God.
no, I mean, I'm not trying to, no offense to that way of how China does things, but, just hearing something like that, that's pretty unsettling.
I think with China being an industrial nation, I think they've seen a way of making money from it.
Yeah.
Harvesting organs, you could get $20,000 for a kidney or $40,000 for a liver. Make use of it.
Right.
And that, I think it's because of that industrialization that they've thought, we can make money from this. Go for it. I personally think that's pretty sick, to be honest. But
and it also said that people come from all over the world.
Yeah.
Like people come from all over the world to go there to get organs.
Oh my God. But how do you know that they're not contaminated? Like they could have, like, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out into there, but you could be buying somebody's part of their body that may have AIDS or HIV or anything like that.
Or liver damage or something.
Liver damage. But you don't know what you're buying. And the thing, but though.
I think the thing is, if you're going to buy an organ from the black market, you're taking your own life in your own hands. That's down to you, isn't it? Obviously, if you buy a liver off the black market, you're obviously not going to go through the normal channels to have that liver transplanted. So,
that's the truth.
Obviously, because the second you walk into a hospital and say, "Look, I've got a liver. Can you transplant it for me?" They're going to go, "I don't think so."
That's what
So you're taking your own life in your own hands.
That would be an interesting show, guys, and it's made me have a think here while we're sitting speaking about this. But we should do a show one night about when people do get transplants and how they feel like they've changed. They feel like they've become the person they have it from. They got it from. Even
yeah.
That'd
I
be
know what you're
interesting.
talking about. Yeah, I've seen some cases where it has said stuff like that. There's a movie about it.
Okay. So was there anything else because I wanted to ask you this earlier, Rosie. So was there anything else that you found about, this killer from Australia? Because some of the stuff's kind of new to me, because I haven't heard a lot of it myself.
Yeah, it was kind of something you were saying earlier. You were saying that it was not normal for you to know your victims or whatever. But if you okay, the reason that they knew these victims is because they were cashing their pension checks. They were taking them, they were kidnapping them, basically torturing them, murdering them, trying to make it look like they were still alive. They were trying to get their pension checks. I don't know how much they were. Some of them were pretty big, but I don't know how much all of them's pensions were, or who had what kind of pension. But I've seen other murder cases where someone will kill their own grandma for a pension check, or a life insurance policy, a multiple different on the TV shows where they show all of the different murder cases or whatever.
I think it went down that the motive wasn't for the money, because out of the 12 murders, they only took out 97,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah.
From the social security checks and the bank accounts. So they don't think the motive was
they were enjoying it.
Their social security checks.
Almost like a thrill kill, as they call them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably more the thing. I think he was just a very sadistic man that decided, I'm going to have some fun here. And he's looked at these people that he's classed as, the scum of society, people that aren't wanted or he don't want. And he's decided he's going to do away with them. And so he's targeted those specific people to be taken out.
Oh, Nick, I've just seen something there that this will really interest you and Darren Dykehouse. There's going to be there's going to be a third Terrifier made.
Oh Lord.
Oh, is that
really?
right?
Yay! Ee.
That's awesome. I haven't
can't
seen the
wait.
second one yet, actually. I need to see it. I just saw the first one a few weeks ago, like a month ago.
Oh, I
movie.
think it's brilliant.
That's a movie Don should share on his show and talk about.
Yeah, I liked it.
You
I
should,
was like, the
should
gore
definitely.
factor was there.
Definitely. But it's been a good show tonight, guys. On Sunday, right? I'm going to start Sunday so that Wayne doesn't think I keep skipping them. On Sunday, Mr. Spookanori, do you want to enlighten everyone about Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday? What it was Sunday?
Could you put
No.
Irene's comment back up there?
Yeah.
Since-
Sorry, I just wanted to read this quickly. What Cliff just said.
Alright, post organ.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
That is crazy.
Every year, 1690 dozen 10.30. That is so many.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
and Irene
wow.
says the government is doing this mainly in China. My
It
God.
is a bigger thing than just black market. It started out that way probably, but it turned into a bigger thing to where it's actually like funded. So they actually have, I think, legit surgeons that actually, I don't know if they actually test the organs or not from the videos that I saw, but there's actual surgeons. They're like certified surgeons that do this stuff because it's such a mass demand that like celebrities and all kinds of people from all over the United States go there to get these organs and transplants. So it's turning such a big thing that they actually like, I guess expanded it and grew it like she was saying, and it actually became, like I wouldn't say sponsored. She said it's governmental, but like where they actually had certified surgeons, because I ain't gonna be a celebrity and go to no like Kmart surgeon, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go to like, I'm gonna pay all this money for this organ. I'm gonna get a certified person. I'm not gonna die because that's the reason I came there anyways. But it turned into like a bigger thing and commercialized more.
Yeah, no good going to a backyard heart surgeon, is it?
Oh, well.
That is
Not if you care about your life,
nuts,
anyways. If you're gonna let somebody try to save yourself, I guess, I don't know.
Irene, wait to see her close on the show looking cute, man. I'm waiting for that.
So, right, I'm confused. Saturday, is it Saturday or Sunday? I'm saying Sunday. Right, it's Saturday. I'll shut up. Right, Wayne.
Well, the thing is, Saturday comes before Sunday. Yeah. And there's something happening on Saturday as well as Sunday and as well as Monday.
I actually forgot Frighteners on the Friday, but carry on with Saturday.
What's happening on Saturday?
Lois, you even forgot Friday. Now, Friday comes before Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
What's happening on all of those days? You have something planned every day?
Yeah.
Lois, let's go in order, please.
Right, Friday. Right. So we'll start with Friday Frighteners. How can I forget Friday Frighteners? I'm on the goddamn show. Right, on Friday, tomorrow night we have Sharon Day coming on. So we're going to learn about a really interesting lady. It'll be her first time on the show, so it'll be really good to have her. On Saturday. Do-do-do-do.
Actually, also on Friday.
So there is every day then.
And
I'm
more
sorry,
in the news.
you just reminded me.
More in the news.
I'm being interviewed by John Paul Newlands on the Horror Hobby Nation podcast tomorrow night as well.
Oh, see a day coming useful.
So there's a lot going on. Also on then on to Saturday, myself and my partner in crime of the Dark Mirror Radio Show are doing the first ever Dark Mirror Radio Show paranormal investigation ghost hunt.
Ooh.
Are you going live?
We are going to try and go live. It is in a haunted pub.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I was fixing to ask you a question about something like that.
Near Scarborough. But it's going to be quite late at night. I think we're going to be there about 10. I think it's about 10 p.m. But we're actually going to the fields and the woodland around the back of the pub because that's supposedly haunted. The pub is still open until midnight on the Saturday night, so we're going to wait until all the customers have gone, and then we're going back into the pub. And
Have
at
a
the
little
moment,
spirits with your spirits. Spirits with your spirits.
yeah, the vodka. I think
Have
I'll
a
be the only one
spirit break.
driving, so it looks like I'll be on Coca-Cola or fruit juice. So we're going to be investigating in there once it's all closed. And as far as I'm aware, it's solely exclusive at the moment to the Dark Mirror Radio Show. No other paranormal teams have ever been in there. So that's quite exciting. The only problem is it's a 5-hour drive for me. So
I'll be feeling the pain.
I think I need to hire a driver.
10 hours in a vehicle. Wow.
What?
Is it 5 hours there and back or 5 hours just to get there?
That's the point, actually. I've got to have a shave. Sorry, Rosie.
Is it 5 hours just to get there?
From where I am, it's 5 hours drive from here to
So
Scarborough.
you have a 10-hour drive then, really?
Yes, but
There and back.
when the investigation's finished, I'm going back to my to Mark's house, and then I'm going to have a few hours kit there first before I get up and journey back.
You mean a nap?
Yeah.
You're going to need one.
So
You're going to have a slumber party. They're having a slumber party.
yeah.
He doesn't want to call it that.
I have to put this up since you guys were getting confused. I remember hearing this one time from somewhere. It was like, someday. Someday.
And then we get to Sunday.
Or
Finally.
Sunday, I will be live on the Wayne Seaton Presents Spookanori group, announcing the winner of the 10th anniversary birthday competition. So far, there's only 4 entries. So, I've got my day cut out tomorrow.
Be a
Reading
long
those
drawing.
4 short stories.
Yeah, maybe I can lend some gorilla glue to you.
It helps you stay awake when you drive if you sniff it, I've heard.
Well, you end up seeing 4 lanes instead of 2.
Especially
Well,
if you
you know,
glue
even
your
better
eyelids
yet.
open. Glue your eyelids open with it.
Even glue your hands onto the wheels. That way you're never taking your hands off the wheel.
No, usually
I
what I
would glue
do,
a cup of coffee in my hand so I could like.
what I usually do, and all the other people on the road thinks I'm absolutely crazy, is I open the window, I put my music up loud, and I sing along.
That's what I do, and I call it
Yeah.
freeze out. Especially if it's cold, it helps me stay awake.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. You know, and
'Cause I drive a lot.
so far they've given out an amber warning for snow up in Yorkshire. So if I have the windows open, apart from it getting very snowy inside the car, it will also be very cold,
Yeah, and you'll stay
Oh.
awake. You'll be
and I'll
alert.
stay awake. So that's pretty good.
Just don't get hypothermia, then you won't be very alert.
Oh, I've got heated seats, so I have to make sure I turn them off.
Oh well. Or you might need them on if you get too cold. Your bum might get cold.
Yes, the seat. Oh, but no, I can't. No, because the idea is for me to stay awake, not fall asleep. So put my heated body warmer on is not a good idea.
Yeah, it's gonna make you cold. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I've got that Viking song. I can play that. Stick it
And
on
you
repeat.
could wear some kind of like special spacesuit. I like to have the Mylar suits or whatever, the Mylar blankets. No, that's only if you need it for emergency. If you're trying to stay awake, you can just keep it in the back in case you got too cold.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be leaving. I'm not going to be leaving until lunchtime. So,
You get a good sleep. You
Yeah,
do
I've
get a
got-
good sleep.
I've got plenty of time to get up there, and obviously once I'm up there, we're going to sit back and relax for a while because we don't need to be there till about 10 o'clock. So that gives us a chance to
Do you
relax
drink
and unwind.
caffeine? Do you drink soda pop like caffeine?
I drink coffee, but I can't stand drinks like Red Bull and stuff like that.
I can't see you drinking a Red Bull. I think you'd be crazy on Red Bull. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it gives you wings, so I'll be able to fly instead of drive.
But coffee or like a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola. I don't know what y'all have there, but like
Yeah, we have Pepsi and Coke and that, but
Okay.
I think the only thing really I've ever liked energy drinks, sort of energy drink wise, has been Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Oh, do you
I
know,
don't know
funny
why.
enough, we were talking about this. Stephen brought this up the other day when we were at his mum's, and he was saying about one of his uncles, and that's got Old Mountain Dew that he's keeping for the if the end of the world comes, so he can drink it. Because if he's going to die, he might as well die happy. Drink Mountain Dew.
Yeah, Mountain Dew.
Well,
as Irene said,
I found one the other day in the shop. I'd never seen it before because we normally only have 2 flavors over here, but I found a third flavor and it was grape
Grape
That sounds
flavored Mountain
amazing.
Dew. And it was
I
in
love
a blacky sort of purpley black bottle. Oh,
actually looking
that was
that up
lovely.
right now. Well,
But
actually,
did it have a weird design on it on the outside
Yeah.
of the bottle?
you know what?
Was
Yeah,
that Halloween?
I think we sell it.
Voodoo? Was it called Voodoo?
No, I don't think it was. Hang on, I'll see if I can find it on internet.
I think it's actually called Mountain Dew Violet, but there's another one
Mountain Dew Black.
There's another one that says Purple Thunder,
Yeah.
Pitch Black. There's one that's called Mountain Dew Pitch Black.
Yeah,
I like
Pitch
that
Black
one.
was the one.
Like a
I
black
love Pitch Black.
Mountain
That's a
Dew
good
almost.
one. I don't like regular Mountain Dew, but I like Pitch Black.
Yep,
Yeah, I like that one.
That was the one. Never seen it over here before, and I had that, and I'm like, "Ooh, I do like this."
Oh, Irene
Irene's
doesn't
like,
have.
man, send me one of those. She said, I need one.
It's like grape flavored Kool-Aid. I got addicted to that when I stayed in Canada.
Oh
yeah.
my
That
Christ and God.
and Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
I got addicted to both of those when I was in Canada. I'm like, I could quite happily stay on this.
Oh, sorry guys, I didn't even realise I was unmuted and I was sitting there taking my medicine. You can hear me in the background going,
I didn't even notice.
Lois
And there was
is
me
like,
thinking you
I
just
need
didn't
grape
like
Kool-Aid.
Mountain Dew and Reese's Pieces.
Well, I don't like them, but I don't like this medicine either, but that seems like the better option than this.
Good Dr. Pepper and A&W root beer. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I used to love root beer.
I still do.
We used to have it at the McDonald's here, and then they stopped doing it.
We still have it over here. I know that.
Root beer at McDonald's?
Yeah, we had root beer at McDonald's
Really?
here, and then they stopped
We don't
doing
have it here.
No, they have them there. They have what is that one? It has it's like a gray logo. What do they call that one?
Bard?
Bard. Yeah, they have it. They have it at McDonald's.
Oh, I don't think they have it here though, where I'm at.
Okay.
I don't think that they do.
They got rid of root beer at McDonald's
If
when
they
they
do,
got
then
rid of
nobody
the
that orders
McRib.
DoorDash gets it because I do DoorDash like every day and like all through the night, like for like until 5 in the morning. And I've never. I mean, I'm not saying they don't have it, but they might have it. But they don't. Nobody ever orders Bards or any kind of root beer.
No.
Maybe they just don't like it.
But definitely. And then Monday again, we'll see you guys with the Dark
Yes.
Mirror show. Talking
Yes,
about aliens.
Monday night again, we're back with the normal Dark Mirror radio show.
You guys here to talk about or
I think basically what we are doing is we are just keeping an eye on recent UFO reports
That's awesome.
and some of the interesting things that are now coming out about expeditions to the South Pole again, regards the entrance to a hollow Earth, and there's another one. There's 2 more that are set to be going to the North Pole. And we did a little bit of research the other day, and we noticed that a lot of satellites do not go over the North and South Pole. And why?
Very interesting.
I did not know that.
Did not
Did you
know
know-
that. That's all new to me.
If you look at most satellite images of where all the satellites are positioned, you'll find that they're all around most land masses, except for the North and South Pole, will only have 1 or 2 satellites go over that area, and that's because they're military satellites.
That makes so much more sense now.
So
Yeah.
you literally
I wonder
you look
why,
at the
though.
world, you look at the globe, and there's thousands of dots all over the place for the normal satellites.
Mhm.
But over the North and South Pole, there's only 2 or 3 satellites that go
Do you
over
know,
that
like, why
region.
though? Like, have you ever like looked at the reason why? Like, the explanation because of that or for that?
My theory was to something to do with the electromagnetic field.
That's what I was thinking, or some kind of equation line, like an equator line.
Because the electromagnetic field starts and stops North and South Poles.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, the military satellites shouldn't be going over there either.
Unless they have some kind of technology that we're not aware of.
Exactly. So that just adds to the air of mystery.
Oh.
And also I think
like,
we're
you know, like
talking about
Stranger Things.
the incident in the South Pole with a Norwegian engineer who was badly injured, and the USAF sent an aircraft up to the Norwegian scientific base to pick him up, but they were told to avoid a certain area. And so they avoided the area on the way up. But when they got there, they discovered that the engineer that was injured was more seriously injured than they thought. So they decided, we're going to go through this no-fly zone. And when they did, they came across a rather large hole in the ground that was something like half a mile wide.
Wow.
And when they landed back at the US base, they were taken into the office once this guy was put into the med center. The crew was taken into an office and sworn to secrecy and told they weren't to say a word about it. So all of these things all relate back to when Admiral Byrd went down to Antarctica with a fleet of Navy vessels back in the I think it was the late 40s, 1947, I think it was. And weird stuff was going on down there. And obviously since then, there's been a lot of speculation about what is actually down there. And the fact that Antarctica is actually a landmass rather than just a big block of ice. Yeah. And then you go back to the creation of the continents, which was originally Pangea. So all the continents were one at one time and slowly spread out around the globe. So it's quite interesting, because then that argument sort of comes into play with the likes of the flat earth theory and things like that.
Oh, please.
Evening,
Oh, please. Don't start it off. Don't start the flat earth.
That is a completely
What is it,
different
a rabbit
subject.
hole?
Oh.
Me and Mark don't normally talk about flat earth theory because obviously our opinion on that is these people are just very strange.
Oh God!
But
I had a conversation with one of my friends about that because she believes in the flat earth theory, and I don't really.
What we do talk about though is some of the videos that people post, and they're so blatantly stupid that you've got to talk about them and have a good laugh. Because they say about SpaceX launching rockets off into space, and they're going, look at this rocket bounce off the firmament. And you're like, no, that's a booster separation, you wally. That's the reason why the trail stops, because the booster has finished firing its fuel. The booster's now coming off, ready for the next stage.
Humor. So this is humor night. Humor night when you're watching these. It's like a night watching the comics, the comedians.
And you just think, really, it's, they make of it what it is, and we sort of very rarely talk about flat earth theory.
Yeah, this is why I don't do the whole flat earth. Don't get me wrong. I watch YouTubers who take the piss out of some YouTubers, and I must admit there is one guy, right? He is a flat earther, but it's so hard not to have a soft spot for him, because he always opens with the same line. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. CC from West County, Chester. You should check him out, man. Seriously.
Yeah,
right?
But what they should do with anybody that posts videos about flat earth theories, what they should do, what they've done with paranormal shows in the UK, is before their video starts, there should be a caption come up on the screen saying for entertainment purposes only.
There's a clip I won't show it on this when we're live. There's actually a really funny clip that I saw involving that, and it's just two guys facing about the flat earth, but it's meant for comedy though. They're trying to make it funny. However, they actually got arrested.
Take your
They
left.
got arrested
I
while
was
they
just
were
thinking,
Um,
like, if I would be on those America's Stupidest Criminals videos, like, I don't know. I would
I'm gonna
not
have
be
to
able to commit a crime. If I tried to commit a crime, it would be screwed up so badly by me and anyone else involved or the universe or whatever. It would just be like, because I don't know. I'm going to start
I
recording when I
think
go out and do stuff.
the funniest thing I've ever seen was there's these group of YouTubers who go against flat earthers, right? So they had a flat earth convention in America, right? And one of the guys out his own pocket phoned up a pizza place.
Oh,
He ordered a special made pizza that says the earth ain't flat. He got it sent. He got it sent to the convention,
that is nuts.
and he actually phoned up a floristry, ordered Cece's wife a bunch of flowers, and sent her to the house and said, "How do you put up with that man? Because he's a flat earther." I was in stitches. I was like, "Oh my lord!" But we could go on and on and on, definitely.
Just
But
let
guys,
it-
please all have a good weekend. Next week, wait, go Nick.
I just want to just give a quick shout out to Irene because Rosie, I'll tell you after we get off. I'd rather, well, unless Irene wants me to tell everybody here, but I'd rather think I'd make it a surprise. But Irene, if you can do me a quick favor, like I sent the information to Amanda Lombardo. If I haven't heard from her yet, but next time you chat with her, just let her know I sent her the information like you want me to. So just let her know because there's going to be something really exciting coming up real soon, and I'm really looking forward to it with Irene and Amanda. So this will be great. I got Lois, Wayne. You guys already know. Rosie, I know you. I'll tell you right after we get off.
Okay. I wanted to put something out there too.
Go ahead.
I am still running in the Ink Magazine contest, even though I've seen people saying it's a scam, because I haven't seen any evidence of it being a scam. And the last winner was not a supermodel that was paid, because there's a lot of people putting stuff out there saying that it's a scam and that the people that win are nobody that's in the contest, that they're paid models. But the last guy that won in the last contest where I was really close was not a paid supermodel. He was a contestant and he won. So I'm still going to do it, even though some people are probably going to think what they want to think. I'm still going to do it because I just enjoy it. I enjoy doing it.
Do
And
it
if
for
I
the
don't
fun of it.
win, I don't even care if I win. I enjoy it.
Yes, that's right, Irene. Movie Japan is the name, so this is gonna be awesome.
So if you go on my page, at the top of my Facebook page, I've seen several people send friend requests on the show so far, and probably if they're watching it. If you go on my page, pinned at the top of the page, click on that, and you can make a free vote every day. You don't even have to spend any money. I'm not asking anybody to spend any money. Just go click that every 24 hours, and you can do a free vote. And you're supporting a good cause also, because musicians that have had mental illnesses and committed suicide, there's a foundation for musicians. Whoever's a fan of music, and I'm a huge fan of music. The money and proceeds from any votes that do give money go to help musicians get better mental health, so that they don't end up like Kurt Cobain or Jimi Hendrix or Chris Cornell or Chester Bennington, which is a very sad loss to this world, I feel like. So it is a good cause anyways, whether I win or not. I don't care.
You know, that actually just brought up something. I just want to say,
And that actually just brought up as well.
well, what I
I've
was
just
gonna say,
realised.
I'm sorry, Lois.
No, you go. Love.
Well, and obviously, I think this is also a good time since you brought up something involving musicians, Rosie, and obviously, I think you know this all too well. Of
Toby
course,
Keith.
yeah. I just want to say, of course, obviously, rest in peace to Toby Keith, who I know he was originally from Oklahoma too.
I lived near him, actually.
Really?
Yep, I lived in the same area in the same town.
See, what's interesting, I'll say this quick, is that I'm not really that huge of a fan of country music. You know, you guys have seen I'm more into like a lot of the, I mean, if it's oldies music, yes, I'm into more oldies and metal and holiday type music, but I do have a share of some country music, just not as big. And I will be honest, I do have a couple of Toby Keith songs.
He was a funny guy. His music was funny too.
My music, well, and you know what? And this kind of traces with, like I said, I got different types of holiday music. I even have 4th of July related music, and he made a few songs that involved that holiday. So I got about 4 or 5 of his songs that are connected with the holiday. So
I
again,
feel
not
like
big
he was
on
a good
country,
hardcore
but
American. He was a hardcore
Yeah.
American.
he was being very patriotic. So
Not
again,
that. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, not again, like I said, I know not big of, not huge in country, but I will admit though he was good with what he did. So rest in peace for him.
But
What were you gonna say?
Yeah.
Lois?
I've just remembered, right? Wayne, we'll need to do your subject next week, and I'll tell you why next week, because on the 22nd, there will be no show, because Zach Clayton is doing a 22-hour marathon, which will run over, obviously, our show time. And I'm more than quite happy for the cause to give up showtime for Indy, who's doing such a cause. He's doing it for war veterans, if I'm right, and
Yes.
suicide prevention.
Yeah, it's Project Die Hard. That's what it's called.
Hey, honey. Hey, Joelo.
I
So,
forgot about that. I need to get back to Jeremy because somebody asked me to be
Hey,
on
Joe.
hey, Joe. So the 22nd, there will be no show, but what I do encourage people is, if you do follow our show, please come on that night, regardless if the show's not on, because Zach is doing a good cause. And it would mean a lot from ourselves if you guys show the support and come on. Just even come on the normal time, because he will be obviously working through our time during the show, so please feel free to pop your head in and just show a wee bit of moral support and say
Watch
hi.
it or else. She's doing it.
And also a word of note too involving Project Die Hard, because if I'm remembering correctly, this is not only just for, of course, our U.S. military. This is for all the countries, our allies, especially those who are involved in NATO, that have assisted each other. We've helped each other out in wars, like, for example, like even wars like World War I or II, or what Vietnam, whatever the case is. It's meant for not just the American military; it's also for other allied militaries as well.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a good cause, guys. And that's just actually taking me to another point, important thing but I can tell he's down the line. It's fine because it's not July anyway, and we're only in February. So, anything else, Mr. Wayne? You're looking deep in thought.
No.
But yeah, guys, yous all have a good weekend, and definitely check out the Dark Mirror Boys investigation, and check out the group page as well. That's all.
Yeah, we are going to try and go live Saturday night. If we can get a decent enough reception, we will go live. So that will be on the Dark Mirror Radio
Very
Show's
cool.
Facebook group.
But yeah, definitely, guys. But everybody have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow night, guys, and we'll catch up with you soon. See you later, guys.
Take care.